Okay. Consequences of non-performance, express condition, material breach, and anticipatory breach. So a condition is defined in 224 as a condition is an event not certain to occur, which must occur unless its occurrence is excused before performance under a contract becomes due. When condition is minor, it can be waived by the one asking for it. If major, it might be overcome by estoppel. Expression of intention not to insist on it. Obliges, prejudicial reliance on the manifestation of that intention. So the one asking for it can tell their intention that they don't need it, or the one who's the obligee's prejudicial reliance on the manifestation of it. Two types: no contract triggered until condition is satisfied. Express, the contract only states once the conditional event occurs. So we have a contract, but it's triggered by this event. So there's already mutual assent plus consideration, but it's not triggered until this starts, but it can't be revoked. But the event may never happen. So little hoops to jump through. And then implied, it can be implied in fact or implied in the interest of justice. So if it's an express condition, the whole condition must be met to trigger the contract. There cannot be a breach before the condition is met because there is no contract until the condition is met. Where there is ambiguity, courts will take it as a promise, not a condition. Promise of a duty subject to a condition cannot become due unless the condition occurs and its non-occurrence is excused, Unless it has been excused, the non-occurrence of the condition discharges the duty when the condition can no longer occur. So, no condition, no contract, unless waived. Non-occurrence of a condition is not a breach by a party unless he is under a duty that the condition occur. 229. To the extent that a non-occurrence of a condition would cause disproportionate forfeiture, a court may excuse the non-occurrence of it unless its occurrence was a material part of the agreed exchange. The longer someone waits, the less disproportionate the court is likely to find the forfeiture. Constructive condition. A condition that, though not expressly stated in the terms of the contract, is imposed after the fact by the court. Restatement 226. An event may be made a condition either by the agreement of the parties or by the terms supplied by the court. The court will impose a timeline on the contract, 237. Except as stated in 240, it is a condition of each party's remaining duties to render performances to be exchanged under an exchange of promises that there be no uncured material failure by the other party to render any such performance due at an earlier time. 234. Where performances can be rendered simultaneously, they must be. Okay, so constructive condition is when the court imposes its own timeline on events. So what's first, what's second, what's third. And the thing that takes longer is going to be first. So if it's performance and then payment, now a contract can expressly order its own events and the court prefers that, but if it didn't, there you go. So simultaneously they must be. Where one needs more time, the one that needs time must finish before the other goes, which we just said. A contract can expressly order itself if the desire is different. The law links the order of performances, so if one stops, they all can. If one stops, it is an uncured material defect. Hypo. A contract to build a house for B for $50,000. Progress payments to be made monthly in an amount equal to 85% of the price for the work performed during the preceding month. The balance to be paid on the architect's certificate of satisfactory completion. Without justification, B fails to make a $5,000 progress payment. A thereupon stops work on the house and a week goes by. A's failure to continue the work is not a breach, and B has no claim against A. B's failure to make the progress payment is an uncured material defect of performance, which operates as the non-occurrence of a condition of A's remaining duties of performance under the exchange. If B offers to make the delayed payment, and in all the circumstances it is not too late to cure the material breach, A's duties to continue the work are not discharged. A has a claim against B for damages for partial breach because of the delay. Substantial performance with a constructive condition. Substantial performance does not work with express conditions. In a constructive condition, an omission, both trivial and innocent, will sometimes be atoned for by allowance of the resulting damage and will not always be a breach of a condition to be followed by a forfeiture. So this is the Jacoby v. Young case where there was a negligible difference. It was like a $500 difference, but it would have cost $70,000 to fix. Cardozo says, a willful transgressor must accept the penalty of his transgressions. For him, there is no occasion to mitigate the rigor of implied conditions. Cardozo, you're obnoxious. The Restatement 241, comment F says, absence of good faith and fair dealing in giving weight to this factor, courts have often used such less precise terms as willful, nor is adherence to good faith and fair dealing conclusive, and other circumstances may cause a failure not to be material in spite of such non-adherence. 240 says, it is easy to pair pairs of performances within the contract. The court will treat them as separate pairs. So if it's like, yeah, so if the contract has multiple things, but like things go together, they will pair those as to not have like a breach of the full, of not to discharge other things that don't necessarily go together. Material breach and anticipatory breach. Material breach, here's the game plan. Was there a material breach? Material is partial. Material breach waived, too minor to make a deal out of and not express. If waived, expressly or through estoppel. Factors of material breach. The extent to which the injured party will be deprived of the benefit which he reasonably expected. The extent to which the injured party can adequately compensate for the part of that breach of which he will be deprived. The extent to which the party failing to perform or to offer to perform will suffer forfeiture. The likelihood that the party failing to perform or the offer to perform will cure his failure, taking account of all the circumstances, including any reasonable assurances. The extent to which the behavior of the party failing to perform or to offer to perform comports with standards of good faith and fair dealing. If it is a material breach, substantial performance cannot be used. Was there substantial performance? What is the damage? How much to fix the problem? So in Jacoby, they said this was not a material breach. Timing. In determining the time after which a party's uncured material failure to render or to offer performance discharges the other party's remaining duties to render performance under the rules stated in 237 and 238, the following circumstances are significant. Those stated in 241. The extent to which it reasonably appears to the injured party that delay may prevent or hinder him in making reasonable substitute arrangements. 3, the extent to which the agreement provides for performance without delay, but a material failure to perform or to offer to perform on the stated day does not of itself discharge the other party's remaining duties unless the circumstances, including the language of the agreement, indicate the performance or an offer to perform by the day is important. Material breach versus total breach. Effective material breach. Performance by non-breaching party may be suspended until the material breach is cured, so we press pause. But effective total breach discharges the remaining duties of the non-breaching party. So it stops and they can go find someone else. Repudiation, 250. A repudiation is a statement by the obligor to the obligee indicating that the obligor will commit a breach that would of itself give the obligee a claim for damages for total breach, under 243. A voluntary affirmative act which renders the obligor unable or apparently unable to perform without such a breach. Anticipatory repudiation. Anticipatory repudiations must be definite and unequivocal. Nature of statement. So it relies on the nature of the statement in order to constitute a repudiation. A party's language must be sufficiently positive to be reasonably interpreted to mean that the party will not or cannot perform. A mere expression of doubt as to his willingness or ability to perform is not enough. And although such an expression may give an obligee reasonable grounds to believe the obligor will commit a serious breach, it may ultimately result in repudiation under the rule stated in 251. Repudiation can be revoked. The one who is repudiated on must act to rely on the repudiation. Otherwise, the repudiator is free to revoke. The effect of a statement as constituting repudiation under 250 or the basis for the repudiation under 251 is nullified by a retraction of the statement if notification of the retraction comes to the attention of the injured party before he materially changes his position in reliance to the repudiation or indicates to the other party that he considers the repudiation to be final. So if he found someone else to build his house, he has changed his position, or if he says, I'm taking that as final, so basically like no trade backs. Also, it can be revoked if the effect of events other than statement is constituting a repudiation under 250 or on the basis of repudiation under 251 is nullified if, to the knowledge of the injured party, those events have ceased to exist before he materially changed his position in reliance. So whatever the reason for the repudiation has been changed, or indicates to the other party that he can, so we just basically said the same thing. Non-material breach was considered in Jacob and Youngs v. Kent, and it was was only incidental to the agreement. It was not willful or otherwise fraudulent, or difference in value as opposed to cost of fixing it was not worth the $70,000 to fix. That's it.